Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, the President and CEO of Swiss America Trading, and you are tuned into our podcast, The Secret War on Cash, where we take a bit of a dig or a look into what's going on in the not only the domestic markets, but foreign or global markets as well. There's been a lot of volatility, a lot of change, and a lot of future change on the horizon as well. I have with me today my co-host, Chris Agelastos. Chris, where are you at? There he is. Good morning,
There I
Chris.
am.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Getting ready for the new year.
Yeah, that's right. New Year is
Not far
here.
away.
No, it seemed like a blink of an eye when the we were doing the same thing 1 year ago, and now here we are, a year
It's
later.
crazy. Yep.
Unbelievable. Well, and
Time
we've talked a
flies,
lot
as
in
they
the
say.
last year. Time flies, especially when you're having fun, I believe is what they say.
Right?
We've talked a lot about this topic here over the course of the last year, and that is BRICS.
Hmm.
And BRICS has been kind of interesting there. We've talked about how there's not been a lot of addressing of BRICS that's taken place by the current administration or the government as a whole. We get Trump voted in, he's not even actually in office yet, but he voted in, and one of the first things he did is kind of launch a little bit of a threat at BRICS. And
Hmm.
it's interesting because BRICS is not really backing down, and nor really should they kind of not be expected to. But let's look at the
Right.
first article here. It says, not BRICS, this country poses biggest threat to the US dollar. Now it says this country meaning the United States.
Yep.
And we've addressed this because, we BRICS, one of the things that really kind of uh, sparked the fire, if you will, initially speaking, was the tariffs and whatnot that the U.S. was imposing on foreign nations and sanctions,
Hmm.
excuse me.
Sanctions. Yeah.
And now they're talking tariffs, and so this really is interesting because the reason Trump addressed this so quickly is because, as we talked about, the U.S. cannot afford for this BRICS de-dollarization effort to go through because we're already in a pretty crippled or weakened state.
Right.
The bottom line is they're not backing down, and I'm gonna ask you this, Chris. I don't see them backing down. Do you?
No, I mean, there's really no reason for them to. Again, like you mentioned, one of the biggest things that started this movement was U.S. sanctions. The U.S. essentially weaponizing the US dollar. And one of the reasons, in fact, they talk about it in this article, one of the reasons that the US dollar has been so influential and been able to, retain its reserve currency status is because it's been very reliable. I know, oftentimes we talk about the challenges we have in our country and in our economy and with our dollar, but still over this extended period of time, compared to other nations, the dollar has reigned supreme. And what they're really talking about in this article is that, President Trump, hopefully understands this and doesn't do more things to make the dollar less reliable. And what that would be is imposing more sanctions or more strict sanctions against countries that are using the dollar if they're not doing things the way the U.S. sees fit. Maybe messing with tariffs, right, and international trade. They mentioned meddling with the Federal Reserve and maybe him putting undue pressure on the Federal Reserve to do things that he wants, maybe to weaken the dollar to maybe make it more competitive overseas or something like that. So I don't think that. I think Trump is a smart man, right? I think he kind of knows what he is doing, especially when it comes to negotiation. He has thrown a lot of these threats out there, and that's, I think, him just kind of wielding power and the leverage that the U.S. dollar has. But what we are concerned about is if he goes a little bit too far, and they continue to, kind of call our bluff, then the U.S. Could really see itself in a bad situation, losing reserve currency status and having others flee to the BRICS organization.
Right. Well, and that speaks to the next article actually, because clearly it it is something that would seem to be uh, a threat to the United States, a threat to the U.S. dollar, a threat to our economy. This emerging alliance of BRICS. So that's why Trump said what he did. He'd like to see them stop those de-dollarization efforts, which I think that
Hmm.
stands to reason. But now you look at this second article and the title of it here: BRICS alliance eyes becoming the next G20, officials say. And why that's significant is they're not BRICS is just being BRICS. They're just doing BRICS. They have this
Hmm.
alliance. They meet, they talk. They have a currency they're going to come out with. They've got it's going to have a gold backing to it ultimately. They're strengthening their domestic economies for the participating nations. But as they're doing that, as this article gets into, they are becoming basically as influential and as strong as the G20.
Yeah.
And that just speaks to the substance of really what they've got going here, and kind of to the point where why would they stop doing it given the momentum that they have? And they just because the United States is threatening these tariffs and whatnot, we're not really in a position to be threatening. I mean, at some point as well, I'd argue that we're probably a little more reliant on them than they are on us at this point, or we're close to that point. So, you
Yeah.
know, what do you like? Do you really think that what this article is talking about here, with them being, having that power of G20, do you think that is a reality? Do you think they are becoming, the new financial or economic conglomerate, if you will?
Yeah. I mean, they're already really so close, controlling a large percentage of the natural resources and circulating currency around the globe. So they're already close. And what I guess I knew but hadn't really thought about until I read this article is that all of the major BRICS nations are already part of the G20.
Right,
So it's really just like the existing G20, getting together and planning a party and not inviting the United States and Europe.
right.
And depending on what we do with the dollar, maybe other European nations may get an invite, and so it makes sense for them to continue down this path. Um, you know, I, I could see that if President Trump is able to come into office and maybe negotiate a little bit with the BRICS nations and maybe relax some of the sanctions or agree not to implement more, I could see BRICS just kind of cooling their jets a little and slowing things down a little bit. But I think they're here to stay, because if it works, if this gets them a seat at the table and they're able to negotiate some relief, with the sanctions against them and whatnot, or in different trade deals, then it's going to have proven to be a good thing and worked for them, right? So if it's
Right.
working for them and they're getting what they want, what's their incentive to stop doing it? Or, at the very least, like I said, maybe maintaining their current level of power and slowing the growth a little bit to appease the US. But it's something I think we're going to continue to hear about for a long time. I don't think it's just going to go away. Not at this point. It's too far gone.
Well, my only concern with that is, I ask myself, why would they stop doing this? Because,
Yeah.
I mean, understand the reason that the U.S. wants this to happen is because the U.S. wants the U.S. dollar to become stronger, more
Right.
relevant. Well, if that happens, or as that happens, the way that happens is the competing currencies, if you will, they become less valuable or less relevant. So if you have
Yeah.
a good thing going and it's providing you strength, and the only way to appease the U.S. is to sacrifice some strength that you've been building on, doesn't seem like a good trade-off to me. And I think I
No.
might really, the one thing that we've covered in other podcasts and articles before that the US has going for it is, India is a pretty major component of BRICS,
Hmm.
and they're ones that have it hedged a little more than really anyone else out there. And
Yeah.
but if you let them jump on board as heavy as Russia and China have jumped on board with this,
Right.
I don't think the US is going to be able to do much about it, to be quite frank with you.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like I said, it's something we're going to have to deal with. I don't believe it's going to go away. They're not going to just give up this leverage that they've built. Again, maybe they'll agree to slow it a little bit, but I think they're still going to want to continue to move forward in a positive direction for themselves.
Right. I agree. Well, thank you for that, Chris. And we will be
Yep.
covering this more, I know, in the year 2025. For those of you tuning in, I hope you have a safe and happy new year. And if you have not contacted us to get some information about BRICS, about the metals market, please do so at 1-800-289-2646 if you'd like to call us, or you can visit us online at www.swissamerica, all one word, SWISS America.com. And if you're not subscribed to this podcast, please do that as well and follow us as well on social media. Thank you, Chris. Look forward to having you again soon and talking more about this and other things.
Yep. Take care.